A 3D capable HD converter connected via HDMI cable. Switch into 3D mode now using your 3D TV remote. Select the over-under orientation. If you're seeing two identical images one on top of the other, then your TV is not in 3D mode. If you see one image with no depth, then your glasses are not powered on. If you see one image in depth, your TV is properly set up for 3D viewing.
Good evening, I'm Diane Diaz. In our top story, a bizarre incident at the Los Angeles Science Center today. Mike Williams is live at the scene with the very latest. Mike, can you tell us what happened?
Diane, I'm standing inside the Institute of 3D Technology, where its controversial director, Professor Uranovich, was unveiling his new invention called the Realovision before a live audience. The professor believed he had a machine capable of creating 3D images without the use of screens or projectors, and it would revolutionize 3D cinema. Today, that dream has gone from triumph to tragedy in a matter of moments. According to witnesses, the professor, considered by many to be a pioneer of modern stereoscope cinema, and by others a 3D crackpot, simply vanished into thin air. We have just obtained exclusive footage of the incident.
So what are we looking at, Mike?
Diane, the professor was in the process of taping this live 3D demonstration of Realovision featuring none other than Elvira, Mistress of the Dark. While she may seem an unusual choice for a prestigious institution like the Los Angeles Science Center, people in attendance allegedly found the demonstration scientifically groundbreaking as well as entertaining. But watch closely what happens next.
Then you hear the sound of footsteps echo in the hall. When you open up the door,
I can't believe it worked. I'm a genius, Max. I'm a genius.
Mike, do we have any idea what may have happened to the professor? Is there any chance that he might still be alive?
Diane, this is where the story gets even more bizarre. The question appears to be not if the professor is alive, but where is he alive? Authorities have learned of a videotape left on the very spot where he disappeared. This tape was apparently addressed to the chairman of the board of the Science Center by the professor himself. I have with me here an eyewitness, the projectionist from the Institute. Ruth, you were in the projectionist booth the entire time of the incident. Do you have any idea where the professor might be?
He's probably caught between the second and third dimension. It's happened before, but never for this long. He always just popped right back.
Amazing. But I'm sure one of the very clever people at the Science Center will find a way to bring him back.
I hope so. But there are people out there that don't exactly see eye to eye with the professor.
Are you suggesting that this wasn't an accident?
Oh, no. It's just they don't take him seriously. He told me that he believes certain members of the board were just looking for an excuse to shut down the Institute. They think 3D cinema is just a gimmick. But the professor was about to change all that. And now this. We love you, Professor, wherever you are. Please come back.
This only goes to prove that in the world of 3D cinema, reality is definitely stranger than fiction. Back to you, Diane.
Thank you, Mike Williams at the Los Angeles Science Center. In other news, consolidation in the media world as two of the majors announce plans to merge right after the break.
mode. I must be caught between the second and third dimension. That's not good. Max? Max! Is that you? Oh, stupid remotes. So many buttons. Max! Little buddy? How'd you get in there?
You put me in here, remember? Oh, forget it. I'll just find my own way out. Look at me. I'm a flying doormat.
Oh, stop whining, Max. We have bigger problems. We are stuck in the second and a half dimension. And if we don't do something about it fast, the board is going to pull the plug on the whole institute.
That's not good.
I need time to think.
Are you sure that will help?
Wait. This is the perfect opportunity to show the board, show the whole world, for that matter, what the 3D revolution is all about. From inside the second and a half dimension. To the lab, Max. The future of 3D cinema is at stake. Not to worry, little buddy. I'll get us out of here and save the Institute to boot. Okay, Max. First, we've got to find some way to get a little depth back into you, if that's possible. Of course. The stereo decompression chamber.
Oh, no. I'm not doing that.
All right. If you want to spend the rest of your life as a talking waffle in the second and a half dimension with me, join us.
Let's do it.
You won't feel a thing.
What have you done to me?
Amazing. You've become incandescent, Max.
You turned me into a light bulb?
Don't worry. You'll be back to your dim self soon enough. Okay. I'll prepare the 3D cameras. You set up the lights. Let's make 3D history.
And how do you plan to do that?
By showing the world that 3D could be the future of cinema.
So what are we waiting for?
What? Ah! Oh, I forgot. We're in the second and a half dimension. 3D cameras can't see me. Of course. I could just reflip the flux dimensional recombobulator circuit. Well, I'll have to remember that button.
What happened?
You stay awake, Max. There's no time for napping. Okay, Max, close your right eye for a moment. Now, close your left. That should do it. Open both eyes, man. Good. Okay, here we go. Roll cameras. Prepare the slate.
Slate flying in. Scene 1.
Ladies and gentlemen of the board, you probably know by now that due to extraordinary circumstances, I am trapped between the second and third dimensions. But let's not be concerned with my fate. What matters here is the future of 3D cinema. Now, I realize that some of you may consider me a nuisance and would be more than happy to shut down the Institute. After all, what is 3D cinema? A gimmick. fad. How could 3D filmmaking be worthy of scientific research? Just consider this. Since the beginning of human culture, artists have struggled with the formidable challenge of looking at our three-dimensional world with their two-dimensional retinas in order to create a two-dimensional image that appears three-dimensional to viewers who look at it with their two-dimensional eyes. Did I lose you? Well, it was confusing to me too, at first, but if you will just bear with me, I will show you how the new developments in 3D technology and in our understanding of how we see our three-dimensional world will revolutionize the way we capture reality in pictures. Join me on an incredible journey to the center of 3D. Max? Cut!
Sorry. You lost me somewhere around the beginning of human culture.
Oh, no, don't worry, Max. I'll explain it all. But first, let's bring out the holographic image generator. Okay, Max, you adjust the lights. And remember, please, let's try to make me look good in front of the board.
I know how to make you look great.
Ow! Max! Ow! Ow! Max! Ow! Ow! Max! I liked you better as a doormat. Okay, here we go. In order to understand the future of 3D cinema, we'd better show them the oldest optical mechanism in human history.
Scene 2. The Eye. Take 1.
Long ago, this extraordinary organ was seen as an object of divine mystery beyond human comprehension. How could something so small, so delicate, give us such incredible power? The miracle of vision. The ancient Greeks wondered what connection existed between the eye and the object. Some believed there was an emission, a divine fire emanating from the eye, which embraced the object when viewed. Others held the opposite view, that objects projected some substance back into the eye. Not until 1604 did a bright guy named Johannes Kepler discover that light emitted from incandescent sources, like the sun, is actually reflected by the object into our eyes. Now, the eye may be the window into our soul, but it's also a key to our survival, and not just for us, but for almost every animal on the planet. For millions of years, eyes have been evolving in different ways, each possessing different abilities adapted to different needs. The human eye is designed to see the world around us very sharply, especially during the day. But at night, we are at a disadvantage. Nocturnal creatures, such as cats, have eyes much more sensitive to light. They possess a reflective layer behind the retina, giving them night vision and making their eyes glow in the dark. an extremely wide-angle perspective on their surroundings, most fish wouldn't last long in crowded waters. So nature gave them eyes to see everywhere at once. This is where photographers got the idea for the famous fish eye lens. No matter how you see the world, life isn't easy. But on one thing, nature seems clear. 2 eyes are better than 1, if not 2. Then try 100. A fly's eyes may look complex, but they are among the most primitive. They see light and dark, movement and shapes, just enough to get by. Spending 18 hours grazing in tall grass for the last few million years have made the eyes of the rhino virtually irrelevant. They don't need to see much farther than the tip of their nose. Other less physically imposing animals, like apes, need the best eyes nature has to offer. Like humans, apes can see both near and far and have a highly developed sense of 3D vision. Extremely helpful when you're leaping from branch to branch 5 stories above the ground. Please put them back in your head, Max. That's disturbing. Hold it. On second thought, I want you to do that. On camera.
Why?
Because you're going to be my visual aid, Max. Now that we've seen how the eye works, it's time to show the board how we really see the world in 3 dimensions. When we look at the world, each of our eyes captures a separate 2D image. Amazing. Our brain is able to take these flat images and recreate a 3-dimensional world inside our heads. How does it do it?
Well,
You can put your eyes back in your head now, Max. I'll take it from here. To see our world in 3D, our brain uses 6 key visual cues. Anybody? Stereopsis, perspective, occlusion, shading, relative motion, and aerial diffusion. When we look at an object, a sphere, for example, our eyes are actually converging, turning in, so that the image of the sphere falls on the same spot in each retina. Where the lines of sight for each eye intersect is called the plane of convergence. An object that is nearer or farther away than the plane of convergence casts an image on different areas of the retina. The pyramid, for example, appears to the right of the sphere in one eye and to the left of the sphere in the other. Our brain's ability to interpret the differences between the 2 images as depth is called stereopsis. Another crucial visual cue is perspective. Simply put, the farther an object is from our eye, the smaller the image cast on our retina. If we hold a checkerboard flat in front of our eyes, the squares are the same size and the lines parallel. However, when we tilt the board, the farthest squares become visually smaller, while the parallel lines suddenly converge. Yet our brain doesn't think, hey, what's happening to my checkerboard? It is perspective that triggers our brain to understand that the train pulling away from us is not shrinking. Relative motion also gives us cues about depth. The cyclist in the foreground seems to travel a greater distance than the speeding train in the background. Our brain knows the train is actually moving faster. Therefore, it must be farther away. Another clue we use to determine depth is shading. As light and shadow fall across the surface of these balloons, they seem to morph from flat 2D cardboard cutouts to full 3-dimensional objects. When one balloon flies in front of the other, our brain knows the balloon hidden from view is farther away. This is called occlusion. Another important visual cue is aerial diffusion, or haze. Ever notice how distant mountains appear farther away on a hazy day than on a clear day? For centuries, painters, photographers, even filmmakers have been using and even manipulating these visual cues to create the illusion of depth on a 2D canvas. They may simply be 2D imitations of life, but they are also acts of real 3D imagination. The artist looks at a 3-dimensional scene with his 2-dimensional retinas and then creates a 2-dimensional image that appears 3D to viewers who look at it with their 2-dimensional eyes. It boggles the mind. And cut!
I had no idea so much is going on when you're just looking at something. It boggles the mind.
Well, let's just hope the board is equally impressed. Or we're up 3D Creek with a 2D paddle. But up, tip your waiter, try the veal. All right, this next part should be a real crowd pleaser. The world of optical illusion. Raise the camera, Max.
Optical illusion. Take me as I am or let me go.
When I was a boy, my father took me to see an exhibit of optical illusions. I couldn't believe how easily my visual systems could be misled, fooled into seeing things that weren't really there. See for yourself. What looks normal at first, we slowly realize cannot be. Our brain struggles in vain to make sense of a world that defies gravity and logic. But as soon as you look at the scene from a different angle, the illusion is destroyed. Still, it is amazing how by manipulating a single visual cue like perspective, our eyes fool our brain into seeing the impossible. After visiting that exhibit, I started playing around with optical illusions. I soon came to realize how difficult it was to create an illusion in the real 3D world. Take this simple optical illusion. In this 2D image, I appear taller on the right than on the left because of the background perspective. In fact, we're exactly the same size. Weird. In 2D, the illusion works beautifully. Add the third dimension, and the illusion disappears. I don't appear taller at all. I just look like I'm floating in the air. As a 2D image without any background perspective, it's impossible to tell whether I'm a giant or he's a dwarf. Add a 3D background, and suddenly you recognize just how small this guy really is. Yes, you are. You're a tiny, small. Or maybe not. In the real world, it takes a tremendous amount of planning and effort to create optical illusion. As I walk toward you, your eyes see me getting smaller. why your brain knows I should be getting bigger. What is going on? Well, see for yourself. The clever Italian architect who designed this building used all the tricks of the trade to cheat perspective. The hallway is more narrow in the background. The ceiling and floor are closer together. The columns are not only shorter, but are spaced nearer to each other towards the end of the hallway. Our brain, unable to resolve these visual ambiguities, sees me as shrinking. The reason optical illusions are so rare in the 3D world is because our stereo visual system is so good at resolving any visual ambiguities. No matter how boggling the illusion may be in 2D, the third dimension usually exposes the trick. The boggle is unboggled. It was in the midst of all this visual deception when I became aware that 3D cinema was the only medium capable of capturing reality using all the visual cues our brain uses. So intrigued was I by the possibilities of 3D cinema, I embarked on a personal quest to unlock its mysteries.
Professor, I have a question.
I'm sorry. Did someone say cut?
No, but if 3D cinema is so intriguing, then why didn't it catch on before now?
Well, that's a good question, Max.
Thank you.
Just the kind of nearsighted question those nincompoops on the board would ask. And if we can't answer it, they'll pull the plug. It'll be hasta la vista, baby, to the Institute, and we'll be stuck in here forever, together. Holy moly!
So, you know the answer, right?
I am the director of the Institute of 3D. Of course I know the answer. Just...
If you say so. Your parents' 3D. Final take.
Long ago, in a Hollywood not so far away, 3D filmmakers were making gimmicky movies for a technologically limited format. One big problem involved a visual cue our brain uses all the time. This.
Your hand.
No, Max. Occlusion, remember? Where one object overlaps another? Your brain automatically knows that my face, for example, is farther away than my hand.
Your face is farther away than your hand.
Allow me to elaborate, little buddy. Just insert a background behind me. Watch carefully. Now, Max, not that background.
Sorry.
Now, as I get closer to camera, I appear to be coming farther and farther off the screen. But watch what happens when my image is confined inside a smaller frame, like this. The instant any part of me touches the edge of the frame, suddenly I seem farther away. Why? Occlusion. Since the frame appears to overlap me, your brain tells you I must be behind the screen instead of floating out there majestically in the middle of the theater. The wonderful, extreme 3D effect is ruined.
So is that what they mean by breaking the frame?
Precisely, man.
Why don't you just make sure all the action takes place inside the frame?
Because that would limit the ability of 3D filmmakers to show the world the way we really see it. It's as if we had to look at reality through a little window. In a movie theater with a standard screen, viewers are always aware, consciously or not, of the frame around the picture. No matter how filmmakers frame the image, the window is always present. Objects can come out of the window, and we can perceive depth behind the window, but filmmakers can't get rid of the window. For viewers, it's like being held in 3D prison in the middle of optical paradise. In the past, 3D film directors not only put the world behind a window, but they also had to choose how far away that window appeared. And this proved to be the biggest limitation of all. By positioning the window closer or farther away from the viewer, a 3D filmmaker determines how much depth there is in a scene, as well as how far objects will appear to come off the screen. Watch what happens to the snake as we push the window deeper into the background. Now watch that again, but this time remove your 3D glasses and see what happens to the snake. Everyone, please. The use of the 3D window as a gimmick can be great fun, of course, but it also proved to be a limitation.
It's so cool. How is it a limitation?
Because in real life, we don't look at the world through a window.
But don't filmmakers want us to see reality through their eyes?
It's not just filmmakers. Artists of all kinds want us to see the world through their eyes. Look, Ma, no hands. Oh. But what if we were free of that window once and for all?
And how do you plan to do that?
Well, don't you see, little buddy? We've already done it. Giant screens, Max. The window is gone. Now, instead of peeping at reality through a little keyhole, we can actually transport audiences inside the 3D world itself. This revolution is opening the way to a brand new form of movie-going experience. Cut!
Nice dismount. I'm sure the board will be very impressed.
Give me a hand, please. I've got one word for you, Max. Reprogramming.
Professor, you seem a little tense. Maybe you should take a little break.
No, Max. I think maybe you should take a little break.
No, I'm fine, actually.
Say goodnight, Max.
That might work better with these. Citizen Turchinovich, take 2. Professor, we're rolling.
Contrary to what you may think, Giant Screen 3D doesn't overwhelm us with a bigger-than-life experience. It gives us a more intimate experience by simply removing the frame. The screen is so large, the frame disappears. We actually enter the filmic space and become part of the scene. It's like nothing viewers have experienced outside of the real world. When we watch a TV program or a conventional film, we may relate to it emotionally and intellectually. But add the third dimension on a giant screen, and voila! We enter into a physical relationship with the subject matter itself. It's not just about visceral reactions to in-your-face effects like these. Oh, sure. These effects could be a lot of fun. But there's something more. It's the quiet feeling of being there you can only get from Giant Screen 3D. Consider this. In a conventional film, I would never look directly at the camera, but rather screen right or screen left at my partner, like this. In this Giant Screen 3D experience, you feel so physically present in the dining room with me, it seems rather awkward when I don't acknowledge your presence. You feel like the uninvited guest at your own party. Why? The size of the screen and the third dimension change the rules of cinema as we know them. Now, because to date we've made so few large format 3D films, we don't completely understand the language of this new medium. What is clear, though, is that the Giant Screen 3D experience will be as different from ordinary feature films as movies are from the stage. 3D or not 3D, that is the question. Whether it is nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous cinema, or by opposing, end them. Cut.
film supposed to go digital soon?
I'd like to make you digital.
The future of 3D. Take my word for it.
While we're just beginning to understand the power of large format 3D cinema, we know it will open the door to a vast range of new experiences. Since we are literally transported into the filmic space, we will be able to rediscover the world around us from a totally new perspective. Experiences which until now we could only have enjoyed in real life can now be recreated in a movie theater. But if what you want is big thrills, at a time when more and more Hollywood films emphasize high-octane action sequences and flashy visual effects to capture the audience, just imagine the breakout experience of truly big event cinema in the third dimension. Yes, the world of 3D has only begun to be tamed. But as long as filmmakers and audiences have a place to freely explore the third dimension, there is no limit to where our imaginations will take us. Wow! Mr. Chairman, ladies and gentlemen of the board, I hope this brief presentation has convinced you of the necessity to keep 3D and the Institute of 3D Technology alive. The future is in your hands. Thank you. Oh, also, Max and I would very much appreciate it if you could help us out of here by reactivating Realovision. Thanks again.
This astonishing video is apparently sent from another dimension. Reacting to it, the board of directors at the Los Angeles Science Center has unanimously... Hold on, we're getting breaking news. Let's go live right to the Institute. Mike?
Diane, am I on? The board has just reactivated the Realovision device. And all heck seems to be breaking loose. Whoa, my goodness! The board has just disappeared. Diane, pan over. The board has just disappeared.
What happened?
Unclear. But I have a bad feeling we are still stuck in the 2.5 dimension.
So what are they doing here? And who are these people?
It's the board. And they look like they're frozen in time. Holy moly! They must be caught in the 4th dimension. That's not good. I need time to think.
Isn't that how we got here in the first place?
Wait. The 4th dimension. I got it! Max, I have an amazing new plan.
Here we go again.